Well, week 3 of this weight loss journey, let's see how things are going and let's get into it. So there's a couple of different things that I want to cover in this update. The first one, as always, is the lessons that I've learned in week 3. The first of those lessons is careful not to get your calories too low. So I managed to inadvertently get my calories much lower than I really ever intended. Originally, I was shooting for about 1,800 calories, somewhere around there, between 1,500 and 1,800. So I'd have about 2.25 pounds of weight loss a week. But just eating mostly chicken and salad, I have to admit, I think my calories are probably closer to about 1,000 for the last couple of days. So, some people might say, well, that's not bad, is it? Why would, lower calories mean you'll lose weight faster? Well, lower calories also has other drawbacks. One of those being that when your calories get too low, your body starts to get cold. You're not burning up enough calories to kind of warm things up for you, so you spend most of your time bundled up. The other thing that happens is that you end up having a lower energy level. Lower energy probably isn't a great thing if you're trying to get more movement going on. If you're trying to make sure that you're doing more walking, if you're trying to do any type of strength training, well, if you've got your calories too low, it's going to be a little bit hard to power 200 and some odd pound machine. Yeah, got to work on getting those calories back up to a slightly higher range. We don't want to lose weight too quickly. That ends up causing a few problems. Number one, you can end up throwing off your metabolism if you do it for too long. The second thing is you're probably putting yourself into a diet state that isn't really maintainable. And the idea here is to create long-term habits. For me, I've done this weight loss journey yo-yo, and so I want to make sure that I put together good habits that I'm able to repeat in the long run so that when I do get down on my goal weight, that it's something that I can maintain and I don't just start eating like a little piglet again and go shooting back up to the original 325. One of the things that I came across online is a little saying that I saw that was actually really stuck out to me, and that was 1 tweak a week. If you remember back and you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll see that in week 1, the tweak was eating for health. Pulled out the sugars, no more sugars. Not having a candy bar every day or not having a fruit pie every day. Get rid of the sugars and then get the healthy foods in there. I personally have tried to make sure that a lot of what I'm doing is a whole foods based diet, so I'm staying away from packages, because if you look at the packages, there's just a long list of artificial garbage in there, and none of it really looks like it is going to be good for me. Week 2 was get moving, getting in there, doing 30-minute walks. Now, that can come in a couple of different ways for y'all watching this. That could be a couple of 10-minute walks. A 10-minute walk is super healthy, get your blood pumping. You don't have to go out and put in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, any of that in the gym. You can just do 3 10-minute walks a day, and it'll already do amazing things for you. In my particular case, because of my work schedule and everything else, yes, I do go to the gym and I get on a treadmill for about 30 minutes a day. I do that 4 to 5 times a week, and kind of keeping with the doctor's recommendation of about 150 minutes of exercise movement per week. So for me, that could be all walking, but we're now on to week 3, which means I get another tweak, and that means I've been able to add in some of my strength training. And holy cow, have I gotten weaker over the last decade or so. I used to be able to throw weight around with the best of them, and now, even doing curls with 10-pound dumbbells, do 3 sets of 10, and that very quickly starts to hurt your arms. I can still feel yesterday's workout in my arms. I've been, every time I stretch my arms out, I feel that burn of the workout. It's great. So it's going to be 10-pound weights for a little while, but over time, with consistency, I'll build that weight up. So let's talk a little bit about goals. One of the things that I did is I went back and I looked over the last 8 years of weight loss. We talked about that. I done a lot of tracking over the years and chronic yo-yo dieter. And so for some people, this can be a little bit demoralizing, but I choose to look at it with a more optimistic view. When I looked back over those years, I saw that, yes, back in February of 2017, I was 325 pounds, and even not that long ago, I allowed myself to get back up to 320 pounds. But when I look at that, I also see multiple times throughout the last 8 years that I've been able to drop weight and get down to a healthier weight. Now, unfortunately, I did kind of fall off the bandwagon there a little bit. So with that in mind, I've been able to go back and look at some of those points where I started to get down and then I went back up. And I've used those points to now create what I'm calling my baby steps of weight loss. Goal number 1 is 286 pounds. Now, in March of 2021 is the last time I was 286 pounds. 286.4. So that's 4 years ago. As we'll find out in more detail later on, I'm really close to crushing that 4-year goal. Goal number 2 is 280 pounds. So at 280 pounds, I will be the lightest that I have been in 4 years and 3 months. I had to give that one in there as a little win. It's only 6 pounds, but still crushing a lowest point of weight loss in more than 4.25 years. So goal number 3, 278.8, which, that one shouldn't be a significant one, except 279.8 was 5 years and 5 months ago. So even though I got to 280.4, it took another year and 2 months for me to get just 0.6 of a pound, little over half a pound lower. That's why I put that one on there, because I'm crushing over 5 years of bad weight loss habits once I pass that 279.8. Goal number 4, 270 pounds. The last time I was 270 pounds was March 17th of 2019. Almost exactly 6 years ago, 270 pounds. You would think that wouldn't be such a big thing, but when you think about the fact that I started at 325 pounds, to get down to 270 is 55 pounds. That's huge. And really, I'm not that far from that now. Goal number 5, the big one, 257 pounds. Even though it's only 13 pounds lower than the previous goal of 270, that was 7 years and 2 months ago. I fully intend to crush goal number 1 by the end of this upcoming week. And with any luck, I'll be pretty close to crushing goal number 2. But it's going to take consistency. It's going to take consistency in diet. It's going to take consistency in movement and exercise. It's going to take getting in my walks. It's going to take making sure that I'm doing my strength training, start building up some muscle, because I'm going to need all of that consistency in order to cross over goal 6, 235 pounds, which, if memory serves, is probably the lightest that I ever have been in over 2 decades. The last time I weighed 235 pounds, I had dropped 40 pounds to get there, and that was in June of 2008, when my oldest son, the Grand Master, was graduating from middle school. He's now a 30-year-old man, and this was when he was graduating middle school, 17 years ago. By the time I get to 235, I will have crushed 17 years of bad weight loss habits. And then the ultimate goal, because we can't finish this weight loss without crossing the 100-pound club. The ultimate goal, 225 pounds. And to be honest, I have no idea when the last time was that I was less than 225 pounds. I know I was around 195 pounds when I graduated high school. I have no idea how long ago 225 was. So we've got some updates to get into. So let's go ahead and get into that. So we've got the week 3 updates. We're going to discuss blood pressure, weight loss, measurements, do some photos for week 2 and week 3, and then we're going to look at a comparison, some side-by-sides of week 2 photos and week 3 photos, and see how these things turn out, and see if we can see some differences between the two. So here with our week 3 blood pressure, you'll remember when we started off, we were at 142/102. So when I originally got my Omron machine, took my blood pressure, and one of the things that they say is that you should average out 3 different measurements. So I've tried to make sure that I do that. Our systolic number is 140 and our diastolic is 99. Looking at week 3, took the 3 measurements again and took the average. So I've got 132 over 98. So already seeing a little bit of improvement there. The systolic number has dropped about 8 points and the diastolic number has dropped 1 point. And I'll take either one of those. That's about a 10-point improvement in the top number, about 4-point improvement in the bottom number. Again, the goal here with blood pressure is to make sure that you're getting below 120 over 80. Long way to go, but still some decent progress there. So looking at the weight stats, when we started pulling weight on March 10th, started off at 297.2. Here, sitting at week 3, we're down almost exactly 10 pounds. So a little bit above our weight loss goal, or I should say my weight loss goal of 2.25 pounds per week, averaging about 3.3 pounds per week right now, but still doing pretty good. 21 days or 20 days in and down 3 pounds. So let's take a look at some measurements. The first one here will be where we started off, or I should say where I started off. I'm not quite sure why I keep saying we. We're all in this together. So with week 0, this was my largest measurement in February of 2017 at 325 pounds. I actually dug through some notes and some archives that I had, and I had actually taken some initial measurements when I started out. So at 325 pounds, my neck was at about 18.5 inches. Stomach was at 60 inches, waist at 52, thighs at 30.5, and my arm is at 17, although I'm fairly certain I didn't have this measurement in a good spot, so that 17 is not going to mean a whole lot to us. I've tried to make sure I'm being pretty consistent on future measurings, and I've kind of got my spots where I'm going to do these measurements consistently. Week 2, when we weighed ourselves and did our measurements last week, first set of measurements that we had, 290.4 pounds, the neck was 18 inches, chest was 51.5, not expecting to see a whole lot of movement here for a few weeks. Stomach was at 57, so already down 3 inches from the maximum at 60 inches, which is really strange to say because that basically means I'm 5 feet around, or I was when I was at 325 pounds. Waist at 49.5, hips sitting at 51.5, and this is an odd measurement to have for a male, but in this particular case, what it does is it gives me an indication of my glutes. Is my tushy getting smaller? Thighs in at 29 inches, and we were at 18.5 on the arms, and I made sure that I'm trying to be consistent, and I'm measuring this at the largest part of my arm, just below my armpit, and that's where I'm going to have the most amount of subcutaneous fat. That's that skin deep fat there. So week 3, this week, how are we doing? So at the 287.4 pounds, my neck is down to 17 3/8 inches, which is a little bit odd, but when you consider, I mean, especially if you look at my photos, that really I don't have a neck right now. My neck just kind of connects to my head just kind of connects to my body with a little bit of a divot there. But what it means to me is that that double chin is shrinking in size. Down about 5/8 of an inch. Chest, again, hasn't changed. Not expecting to see any major changes here for a little while. My stomach is down an inch, which means shirts are already starting to fit better. Waist is down 1.25 inches, which I found to be pretty shocking. I didn't think that 3 pounds would make 1.25 inches difference in my waist. My hips have gone down about 1 inch, which again means my pants are going to fit better because my posterior overall is smaller. Thighs are down about 1.5 inches, down to 27.5, and my arms have actually lost about 1.25 inches, which isn't necessarily something that you want to see in a male because you want those big flexing biceps. You can't really see me right now, but hopefully you can hear me doing my most manly, heroic pose over here. But overall, the biggest takeaway from measurement differences here is that even though it's only 3 pounds, there's some significant physical changes going on that really aren't indicated in just the weight loss because the body is completely resculpting itself. And in my case, I guess I have a little bit of what's considered to be a pear-shaped body, starting to lose quite a bit in that mid midsection already with just a little bit of a weight change. So don't get caught up in the numbers on the scale, because those aren't going to be the ones that really give you an indication of what's going on with your body. And this just kind of drives home the point as to why measurements are so important, especially if you're one of those people that gets bothered by not seeing enough movement on the scale. So let's move on to some of the photos here. So we've got our week 2 photos that we had in the video last week. Got our front and our 2 sides and then our back. Again, looking at the photos, it's going to be a challenge to see any differences with small weight loss. You can see here in the week 3 photos, same poses, different hairstyle, but can't really see any differences here. But when we get into the comparisons, so we've got the week 2 and we throw in the week 3 over here, and you can see that from this angle, it looks like there's not as much mass, girth, size, pick your adjective, there in the stomach. Just to me, at least, it doesn't look like the stomach is hanging down as far as it was. And I tried, especially on this front photo, to make sure that I've got the scale and everything, you know, my glasses, my facial features, and my watch all pretty much lined up perfectly there. So I think this is a pretty fair rendition of what some of the changes are going on there, especially in the mid regions. So here on the side-by-side comparisons, this was a little bit harder to make sure that the scale and everything was correct, but you can see not a whole lot of difference. The stomach seems to be hanging a little differently, which doesn't seem to line up with the way things were going with the front picture, but it also looks like my head is bigger in some of the shots, so I think my scaling's off a little bit here. Probably not a real fair comparison. And then in the back, try to make sure these two were close, but again, really just visual. The biggest thing that stands out to me is it looks like some of the bulges aren't necessarily as deeply creased as they were before. All right, so that's the comparisons and stats for the week. All right, so as we wrap things up here at the end of week 3, let me know down in the comments if you'd like the stats to be a little bit shorter, a little bit faster, anything like that. Let me know a little bit about your own personal weight loss journey or some of the questions that you might have about mine. As always, be good to one another.